Hey everybody, it's Kevin from Strictly Lights. I decided that I was going to do a quick display walkthrough video of the 2016 display now that it's January and things are going to start coming down. So I'm going to start on one side and work my way over. In a bunch of my trees I've got cascading icicle lights. They vary in lengths. The smaller trees have smaller icicles, bigger trees have larger icicles. I've bought the retrofit ones that screw into C9 sockets. I found that those are the easiest. You can make the strings whatever length you want. When you put them in trees, I always leave enough slack so you can leave a nice droop, so when the tree flexes, the wires don't tear apart. And I also wrapped a piece of fencing wire around the top of the tube and then tied it around the branch, because these sockets can sometimes pop off the wire and I don't want the lights to come falling out of the tree, especially the ones that are in there. We've got some that are over the top of the road and they can't be falling. We've pretty much done all the trees. There's tons of them. Over here I've got 4 arches, pretty much standard. I do 8 channel, so I started out with 2 controllers doing 32 channels to do the 4 arches. This year I added color to them, so I've got 8 channels that jump, and then I've got red, green, blue, and white on a super strand that's wrapped over the top of them, and I have each of them on separate channels so I can change the arch different colors, and then the jump is obviously just white. I decided I'd try that this year, and that actually worked out pretty cool. My first set of arches that I built, I actually had the cords built in them. They were kind of heavy and bulky and took a lot longer to make than just running the cord up the back and zip tying them up and plugging them in, so that's the system that I use now. I just made my cords to the right length for the arch, and I just label where they go so I can put them up every year same way. These are I call them large trees. They're 12 feet tall. They're a frame that I had built. A guy named Tom Heron built them for me. He, since we're in Wisconsin, I had him build them on a little ring. So they're 3 inches off the ground. It snows a lot here, and there was snow 1.5 foot up these at one point in the season. So that's kind of helpful. I had him put wheels on them. So, to take these down, all I do is unplug my cords that run up the back, pull the star off the top, tip the tree back, and wheel it inside in one piece, and it's done. I don't have to take them apart. I don't have to do anything. On everything in the display, I have super sets, I call them. Red, green, blue, and warm white. And I zip tie the lights together, and then I wrap them around stuff. I have 4 of these trees, 2 on each side of the yard. Each tree is 8 channels per color, and they chase up and down. And then the star up there is obviously a channel. The mega tree is 12 channels of each color, so 3 controllers run this. Let me see if I can climb in here. I use the method of digging a hole and pouring concrete, and my pole slides into the sleeve that's concreted into the ground, so at the end of the season I can pull the pole out of the ground. It's just a winch system. I had my friend that's a welder weld the winch on, and it runs to a pulley up on the top and to the hook head, so when you winch it up, that's what you get. I can take some more pictures later when the tree is actually lowered down so you can get a little better view of it. I got a bunch of strobes in here. I just made my own strings for those and clamped sockets on in random locations, so it gives it a cool effect, and they're not all perfectly evenly spaced, which I found is the best way to do strobes. When they're a little more sporadic, it gives a little bit cooler of an effect. With the mega tree and what I did on mine, just because we're in a pretty open area here, there's a lake over there, there's a lot of wind that blows through the yard, and I don't want my light strings to get wrecked from them getting pulled on. So I actually have each superset zip tied to cable, and that runs from the bottom of the tree all the way up to the hook head. So when you pull that tight from the hook head down to the base, and I used 1-inch conduit, put some eyelets in it, and bent it into my ring. So when you pull this tight, this tree does not go anywhere, and I don't have to worry about the lights getting tore or anything. It works out really, really nice. Another 12-foot tree. Here's my row of minis. They're 3 feet tall. I just took some 2x4s and built a little base, put a piece of 3/4-inch plywood on the top so it's somewhat rigid. Got a bunch of J-hooks, measured, screwed them in. Got a pipe flange, screwed it to the center. There's a 2x4 underneath that those screw into, so it's nice and sturdy. Got a 1/2-inch pipe that comes up to the top, and I just welded a muffler clamp to the top of it to use it as a hook head. Worked out pretty good. These are 4 channels each, all 4 colors. Did the same thing with this tree line. 6-foot trees or medium trees, whatever. Same base, the only difference is I used 1-inch pipe in the center instead of 1/2-inch, and there's a couple extra hooks on the top because there's a ton more lights on them. And here's one room of controllers. It's kind of a lot. I built extra so I have extra room for expansion later. I don't know, being here in Wisconsin, it's a lot of cord and it's a lot of work to make all the cords to run outside, but once they're made and everything is labeled for what tree it goes to, it really is not that difficult to run cords to me. It's a lot easier than trying to set boxes up in the air year after year, and I don't know. I don't have to worry about tripping over any network cables, or don't have to worry about water getting in a controller, or I honestly think it looks a little better not seeing controllers all over in your display, especially in between arches or whatever. I know those are kind of hard to conceal out by arches. But that's just my 2 cents. Everybody does their controllers differently. It is what it is. It's a hobby, and do it how it fits you best. This is just how I do mine. Most of the controllers are just simple Lightorama PC 16-channel controllers. I do have a couple DC controllers for my RGB Lightorama floods. What I did this year, I got these from my uncle, and I actually can tell the voltage and the amp draw out of my panel for Lightorama, which is kind of unnecessary with Lightorama running all LED, but he gave them to me because he's an electrical whiz, and I thought they were cool, so I put them in just so I know, make sure I'm not going over an amperage, which I'm not even close to doing. Around all the windows and doors of all the buildings, I got lights, obviously. They're on supersets. I put them up. Any lights that I take down at the end of the season, I leave the long tail on the zip ties. That way, when it's cold out and you're not paying attention, you just cut the zip ties off that have the tails, and your superset comes down, and you're not cutting zip ties off your superset. Up there, I got C9s, cascading icicle lights, and strobes. I'll show you those on the garage because it will be easier to see. Alright, all of my C9s I put on pieces of conduit. I just used the regular stringers of STP1 and cut them. Used vampire plugs. That worked out pretty well. You can kind of see some of the bulbs tip in or out, or they're not exactly perfect, but from the road they look pretty darn good. If I were to do those again, I think I'd use some sort of a square tube so the socket sat on the square tube perfectly. It's just my OCD talking, but this method seems to work out pretty well. I got two different lengths of cascading icicle lights, 12s and 24s. In those trees over there, I got 12s, those are 24, those are 36, so like I said, I just kind of have them staggered with, depending on how big the trees are, or buildings are, or whatever they're going on. I built frames for these windows because it's a block garage and I didn't really want to screw into it or try dealing with Tapcon in around the outside to hang lights up, so I just built those, and I ran some conduit on the corners and zip tied the lights to the conduit. Been doing it for years. That ends up working out pretty well. Up under the eave here you can see the strobes. I did just screw in and zip tie those up. And then the Lightorama floods. I do leave the floods up year round. I use them for 4th of July, Halloween, whatever. You could use them for Valentine's Day, St. Patty's Day. Get crafty with it. Whatever you'd want to do. Up on the roof is Mr. Grinch. My good buddy Tom built that this year. He talks, sings along with You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, and the kids really like him. He's a hit around here. Everybody's saying, what am I going to do to top that for next year? And I don't quite have the answer for that one yet. Let me go over to the other side of the yard. My buddy. Down the driveway, I built a makeshift fence, basically. It's 1.5-inch conduit. I got white lights that chase up and down the row, and then on every post I've got red, green, blue, white wrapped over the top of it, kind of the same system as how I did my arches. I drilled holes in the conduit and I put eyelets in, and I ran cable to suspend the lights on. It's the first year that I've done this with cable and eyelets. I used to just zip tie the lights to the post, but the lights, over time, people would walk into them and whatever, it'd stretch the lights, it was starting to ruin them, so zip tying them to cable was definitely the best way to deal with that. I liked it, it worked out great. At night it lights up. It looks like the fence is always there. It doesn't even look like it's built out of PVC or anything. It's a really cool effect. My carpenter buddy Matt got creative. I told him to build me a donation box, so he did. It is built like a regular house. There's trusses in there even. It's kind of funny. But I got little mini cascading icicle lights on there. In the front, on both sides of the yard, I guess I didn't show you on the other side, I've got my 2 and 2 signs. I have the frames. The same guy that built the Grinch and the 12-foot trees built these signs for me. And I just zip tied all the lights to them. It's a lot of work to make these look decent, but it was worth it in the end. Little trick I learned along the way is any bulbs that you don't need, use Plasti Dip and dip the bulbs and it covers them up. For M6 bulbs I use just blackout caps, but for these they don't really make anything good to cover them up with, so they're kind of sporadic all over the extras. There's quite a few to cover up. When I built this, or lit this I should say, I lit the numbers with individual strings. Each number has its own strand, so if I ever have to change the 2 and 2 number, you can just take one number off and not have to relight the whole sign, because this is the 3rd time I've changed the numbers, and twice this year. So that is very helpful. If you look, I don't know if you can see it over there, and there's the other sign. Got regular string lights on the bushes. We've got a couple bushes around here that are kind of flimsy, so I actually take them to zip tie the lights right to the bush, so when it gets really windy all the lights stay put. I got my snowmen. I got those from ChristmasLEDs.com. Those are pretty awesome. They're 7 feet tall, so it's definitely taller than I am. I also got most of these lights around here, and the entire display came from ChristmasLEDs.com. Val's really good with customer service. I buy a lot of stuff from her. She's been good to me. Got some more 6-foot trees in the front porch. Got jumpy posts, what I call them, on all the front porch posts. I just use 8 channels of lights and then wrap the super strand around them like the arches. Got my sleigh and my deer. Bought these at Lowe's last year. I wanted more this year, but they didn't have them because they had the awesome Joy sign that everybody's been arguing about. And this has been in the barn for years. I was always wanted to put it in the light show, and I finally found deer that were big enough to put in front of it. I got a couple more bushes over here, and this side of the yard basically mirrors the other side. 4 arches, 2 12-foot trees, and the mega tree. You can kind of see some of the wiring a little better on this side. There's a lot less snow. I just put mats over them where I walk a lot through the display, so before when it snows, I'm not tripping over everything. There's definitely a ton of wiring. So, any newbies out there, or anybody else for that matter, if you have any questions, feel free to like, comment, or share. I'm more than willing to help you guys out and teach you how I do it anyway. Light shows are their own thing, so be creative with it, be crafty. You don't have to listen to one specific person's idea. If you've got your own idea, take it and run with it. Do it, see how it looks. Build something cool, creative. Have a good one.